everybody, welcome back to Project Megalodon. I am extremely excited for this video, as this is the debut of the first short story on this channel. I know I teased this last episode that I had some short stories in my head that I wanted to work on, and I finally found time today to not only write it out, but narrate it and upload to YouTube. I just want to say full disclaimer too, I am an adult, and so I put swear words in the story. That's something you don't like. I apologize. I'm not going to censor this stuff. It's just, swearing is a part of life. So if there's something that offends you, you don't have to watch the video. But there is swearing in it. There's not just a couple, bad words here and there towards the end of the story just to show human emotion. But I'm not going to go any further discussing this because I want you guys to read it and understand, this short story in its context. And if you like this, guys, please leave a comment below, like the video, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you guys at the end of the video. Enjoy the short story. Epilogue. Everyone knows about the downing of the U-2 spy plane by Soviet Communist Russia in a period where nuclear war and espionage were rampant as fire and ice. But there was a second incident that has been kept under wraps by the CIA. The problem that humankind has always faced is they believe they are the hierarchy of power, when in reality nature has controlled the destruction of our world. When this gets out, I no doubt will be executed for treason against the United States, but the threat is real, and this is bigger than me. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. The following documents are being broadcast for the first time by myself, Robert McNamara, United States Secretary of Defense. Chapter 1. What Mr. President didn't know would not hurt him. I arranged for a second spy plane to do reconnaissance over what I believe to be a secret naval blockade being organized by the Soviet Navy to intercept shipments off the coast of Alaska. After all, Alaska was the closest U.S. soil to Communist Russia, apart from Cuba being a direct main threat to the Florida Panhandle. The following report I will read is from my pilot, Arthur Gladwell. Arthur and I have been best friends since the minute we served together. May the CIA never find him. It wasn't his fault. This was my doing. Excerpt from Arthur Gladwell, Intelligence Report, United States Military, May 1st, 1965. I had been flying for 36 hours. Storms out the coast of Nome, Alaska was making turbulence rough, but that's what training was for. My mission was simple. Secretary of Defense McNamara always had a leg up in catching the impossible. A lead of Soviet blockade between the coast of Alaska and Russia aimed at stealing U.S. goods and civilians in an attempt to squeeze the Americans further with their psychological subversion. Chapter 2. I wasn't a praying man, but even then watching certain events unfold even against millions of people threatening to end our way of life over different views made me feel bad for how my mission closed. The sun was out after the cold front passed through. Hundreds of miles over the Pacific I was searching for a Soviet fleet. High above the clouds, I glided mercilessly. Condensation in the cockpit, legs shaking due to my coffee addiction. Though caffeine was the only thing keeping pilots alert these days, it was some 7 hours later my ground radar detected movement in the water. No one knew about the second spy plane's capabilities. A new ground radar system capable of detecting motion above ground or below, above water or below, up to 100 feet below surface or above. The odd thing was, using my plane-mounted camera, the detection of a vessel was not so. It had been a submarine. There's no other explanation. Chapter 3. My mission wasn't to pursue anomalies, but to get proof of a blockade to help strategic plan to disarm a section of the Soviet propaganda machine. There was it, peeking through the clouds. 2 small destroyers a few football fields long. 4 U-boats, but no submarines out of water. Doesn't mean none were to be seen below the surface. Holy shit. Secretary McNamara was right. These communist bastards were set up in a secret all the way out here. Now it was time for proof. Out of range above the clouds, radar jammer active, I began snapping photos. Luckily, the camera was equipped with an infrared so I could have proof of life on board said ships. Circling around, I got caught up in these dense clouds. Repositioning the plane, refocusing the camera, something was off. Originally, I counted 2 large ships and 4 smaller ones. There's 2 smaller ships gone. What the fuck? But that wasn't at all. My ground radar was picking up 5 heat signatures. The 5th had to be a submarine, right? What I saw next. changed my entire outlook on the hierarchy of the food chain. Humans are nothing. We are pieces on the chessboard waiting for nature to take us out, one by one. Chapter 4. My camera picked up smoke from the destroyer. Not exhaust smoke. The Russian warship was fucking on fire. What the fuck is going on down there? And that's when I saw it. I toggled on the thermal. I saw an enormous mass circling the burning destroyer. What the fuck is a whale doing out here? They don't circle ships, nor do they attack. I toggled back to normal camera mode and zoomed in. The water was being cut in two as a large object sticking out of the surface was streamlining towards the already smoking Russian destroyer. That looks like a fin. Is that a shark? There's no fucking way that's a shark. That's easily between 68 to 75 feet long. Sharks don't even get close to that size. I've heard of great whites off the coast of Florida and Cape Town, Africa, reaching close to 25 feet maybe. I watched as what I believed to be a monstrous shark of horrifying proportions tear through the side of the hull of the ship. But it was clear. The ship was sinking. That's why the other two ships were missing. That shark, so-called, must have leveled the playing field. I kept taking photos. Even though I'm talking to you now in the moment, I just stared in disbelief. It took merely 15 minutes of me circling over the Pacific seas as I watched from thousands of feet above a monster shark devour and destroy our enemies. I am human. I felt grief for those soldiers. They were no different than me. Small cogs in an ideological subversion concept forged by our nation's leaders to cause conflict and war. My hair stood up the entire time the fish made its attack. That could have been us down there, and the Soviets spying from above. Coming face to face with the right hand of gods. Most likely a guard in the ocean that we know so fucking little about. 75% of our home we kill over we know so little about. The irony behind that statement speaks to the irony of man. Chapter 5. I didn't utter a word to myself on my flight home to the States. The only man I wanted to speak to was Secretary McNamara. How could we be so naive? Nuclear weapons? Chemical weapons? Plagues? We are not a danger to ourselves. Nature has the reins. A legion of Russian troops learned that the hard way, and I captured it all on camera. The first proof in human history that we are not fucking alone above or below water. I landed in Anchorage. I was flown again separately back to the Pentagon. Robert was waiting for me in his office, along with two guards outside. "Lock the door behind you," Robert said. I'll never forget the look on Arthur's face. It's the look you make when you realize you've seen something no one should ever see. The creepiest part was, Arthur never said a word the entire time. He handed me his report. The photos spilled out all over the table. The proof I'd been looking for was here. The blockade was real. 2 large destroyers. 4 U-boats. Those communist fucks are going to cause a war being out there. A photo slipped out of my hand. The last photo Arthur had taken, the area where said fleet was idling, was just a blank photo of water. I looked over at Arthur. His face was pale, hands shaking. "Where'd the fleet go?" Robert said. Arthur handed me a separate folder with his hands shaking uncontrollably. I opened and poured them all over the table. "What on God's green earth is this?" Robert said out loud. Scanning each picture closely, he noticed immediately 2 of the smaller ships vanish, and he flipped to the image that haunted his life forever. Clear as day, 100 feet from a smoking warship, was what looked to be a massive shark fin emerging from the water and heading towards the ship. The thermal image made out what looked to be, in using a worse ship size for comparison, a massive shark never seen before with human eyes. I stared at each photo of this giant shark in disbelief and eventually reached the end. The last photo with the fleet had completely vanished. I understood now why Arthur didn't speak. He just recorded the first ever evidence that humans are not in control of this earth. Prologue. I sent Arthur away to Hawaii to live out his retirement and to never speak a word of this ever again. As for me, I had a decision to make. Give these documents to President Kennedy and warn the United States of a new threat lurking in the depths while possibly being executed for treason. Or keep quiet. The Russians will eventually find out and blame us anyways for their loss of their fleet, not knowing that for the first time since the beginning of this Cold War arms race, 2 superpowers hell-bent on creating a worldwide nuclear fallout had a common problem. A common threat. I said nothing. As shocked as I was learning our oceans were no longer safe, not even a battleship meant to remove the enemy from the battlefield could not save us, I was not surprised Mother Nature and evolution could be capable of such horrors. The Cold War would carry on. I did my duties to the best of my ability and kept my mouth zipped shut. The world would never know of the incident that took place over the Pacific. The only thing left to tell a tale was hiding farther down than any of us would ever have known. If we ever think for a second that we are, as humans, are the alpha predators on this earth, then God has failed us because we have never been more wrong. And with that concludes my first short story here on the channel. Thank you so much, guys, for listening and or reading along with me if you chose to watch it. I really hope everyone enjoyed this first short story and was intrigued by it. I know it was short. I wanted to keep it that way for a reason, so it wasn't, something too long and ridiculous. If you guys like this kind of content and short stories and you want to hear more stuff like this, please let me know in the comments below. Subscribe to the video. It only takes a minute. Hit the like button. It helps me out. Let's build this channel and become the most popular Megalodon channel on YouTube. But that's all for today's video, guys. As always, stay healthy, stay dry, be nice to each other, stay out of that deep, and I'll see you guys in the next video. 1988